Okay, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Give me the sign. Action. Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to 6 things that we learned from Chelsea 2, Sheffield United 2. Welcome back to Amsterdam. We're back on the boat. I've decided to just switch things around a little bit today. Since I was last here, the sun has done this thing where it goes down a little bit earlier now, so we don't get the same sunlight. So me coming up here to film a video, didn't quite realise I was going to be in the shade, but it is what it is. Chelsea 2, Sheffield United 2. I've spent a bit of time dwelling over what happened. I've watched back the majority of the match. I've watched like extended highlights, and I've come to a conclusion on 6 things that I think we need to take forward into the international break. 6 things that hopefully we're going to be working on come the games against Wolves and Liverpool and Grimsby in the League Cup, or Macclesfield, one of the two. It's an incredible draw really, isn't it? But anyway, point number 1 in today's video, Tammy Abraham. I think we're going to start with some greens, move into some reds, and then finish on a yellow today. Tammy Abraham is an obvious green. 2 goals on the board, 4 goals so far this season. He's up there near the top scorers in the Premier League. Pukki's got more, Sterling and Aguero. We're talking about some great names in there, and Tammy Abraham, even though both of the doubles have been against newly promoted sides, from what we've seen yesterday, it's not like just because they're newly promoted that there's any difference in the quality of them. Sheffield United were absolutely brilliant yesterday, and Chris Wilder has got their team playing some fantastic stuff. The thing I thought yesterday about Tammy is we saw that he's able to score the more difficult finishes, like the half volley for the first goal against Norwich and then the shot from outside the box for the second goal. Yesterday, it was more of that instinctive, and people have been saying it's the more common Tammy Abraham goal. He scored a lot of goals like that so far in his career, and we get to see that instinctive poacher's element to his game. So from what we've seen from his 4 goals this season, we've got a very well-rounded striker. Yesterday, the balls were being played in the air, he was chesting it down, he was headering it, and it looks as though Tammy Abraham is definitely a player that we can get excited about this season. Moving into another player that we can get excited about this season, it's Fikayo Tomori. When I heard his name on the team sheet yesterday, I was a bit like, well, where's this come from then? But realistically, we don't exactly have an abundance of centre-backs available to us. Christensen was dropped, Tomori comes in. I've watched it back, and I do feel as though positionally for the goals, it wasn't the best from him. I think he definitely could have been better at that. But in terms of what he actually did on the ball, I've got some stats here from a tweet. He had 106 touches, made 98 passes with 94.9% pass accuracy, made 3 tackles and 1 crucial block. If we're looking at that in a game where we did have to defend and there were other opportunities for Sheffield United where they didn't score, it wasn't as if Sheffield United attacked and scored every single time. There was work that needed to be There's work that needed to be done, and Fikayo Tomori did a very, very good job. I still feel obviously as though he's not the complete centre-back, but we didn't expect him to be the complete centre-back. But in terms of positives to move forward with, I think Tomori is going to have a good career at Chelsea. He's a strong player, he's quick, he reads the game well. Positionally for the goals, not perfect. However, there's other players that we could also blame for that as we move on. So sadly, point number 3, Azpilicueta. I don't like doing this because he's been so good for Chelsea, and it's just a flipping natural thing. I'm sat here now as a 25-year-old, I often think about that and I'm like, blimey, I'm getting on a little bit. I can't go out twice a weekend anymore and have a couple of pig's ears. I have to take it a little bit slower. Azpilicueta, sadly, isn't the defender he once was. A leader amongst those Chelsea players in the dressing room. It's a very young team, and it needs someone with the experience of Azpilicueta to guide some of those younger players. However, I do feel with Reece James and the qualities that he brings as he comes back from injury, I fully expect him to get some minutes, and Azpilicueta's role at Chelsea is going to be more of a nurturing role for Reece James, because quite frankly, he is a defender in decline. The majority of goals that Chelsea have conceded this season have come down his side, on the right hand side, or the left for the attacking team, and it is a worry. And I don't want to sit here again and scapegoat him. I always feel as though if I'm trying to single out one Chelsea player for negative criticism, I do have to do it, because at the end of the day, I'm not being paid by Chelsea Football Club to say nice things. I'm here as a fan. There are consistent things happening, sadly, within Azpilicueta's game that just aren't good enough. He doesn't have the speed to get back defensively, although he was a brilliant one-on-one defender, particularly when he was playing in centre-back. He's getting skinned now by Sheffield United players on the wing. Ender Stevens had a field day yesterday for the majority of the game, and it's a massive worry for Chelsea. So then, point number 4, and I'm going to have a little moan about Christian Pulisic here. And I'm not going to say it was just Pulisic. There were issues across the entirety of the midfield yesterday where Chelsea players weren't coming back and supporting the defence, and it was so frustrating on the sidelines to see Sheffield United on the counter-attack. I think it was an element of disrespect for how good Sheffield United actually are when they're going forward, because when Chelsea lost the ball, other than Kovacic, who was coming back and winning slide tackles to get the ball back for Chelsea, there was absolutely no speed in this team to get back and win the ball. And I mentioned Pulisic. I feel as though with Azpilicueta's frailties that were so obvious yesterday and throughout the start of this season, Pulisic needs to offer a lot more coming back and defending. Mason Mount did it, he came back, he won the ball and he helped Emerson out in the left back position. Pulisic didn't do it enough, and I feel as though the physicality is something that we've obviously got to give him time to adjust to in the Premier League, but yesterday it was so evident against a physical team like Sheffield United that Pulisic was really struggling. And it wasn't just him. I think Jorginho at times, he looked so slow when he was coming back. I think Jorginho had a very good game yesterday, and he probably was one of Chelsea's top 3 or 4 players on the pitch for the majority of the game, but coming back, there's just no speed in this team. And you can see the little cog thing, the little settings picture I've put on the graphic. We didn't get out of first gear yesterday. Even when we were 2-0 up at half time, I was speaking to people in the concourse and I was like, I don't think I've ever been at a Chelsea game where we're comfortably winning the game according to the scoreboard, but it didn't feel comfortable at all because it didn't feel like we asserted anything in the match yesterday, which is a massive worry. And the reason it's a massive worry is because we faded in the second half yet again. We played some nice fluid football at times in the first half, but in terms of an intensity, it didn't match the intensity of the first half against Man United. We lost that game 4-0. It didn't match the intensity of the first half against Leicester or against Norwich. Yesterday was so flat, I feel like we lacked complete energy. And in the second half, we completely crumbled yet again. If we're playing at the intensity we played at yesterday, and then we're struggling to maintain that in the second half, I think we could say that we're going to be screwed on many occasions this season because it wasn't good enough. So point number 5, and the 5th thing that we learned yesterday, is that it was a big reality check for Chelsea. It was one of those where there is absolutely no excuse for Chelsea Football Club to give away a 2-goal lead at home when you're 2-0 up at half time, looking comfortable. Sheffield United were invited back into the game, and within seconds of the restart, that is completely unacceptable to not be switched on when you restart the game. Within a minute, Sheffield United have got a goal back, which set up the entire story for the second half. As soon as they got that one goal, it gave them the confidence, as if they didn't need the confidence anyway, because they had their fans backing them. They've got a manager in Chris Wilder who can tactically adjust things in order to combat the strengths of the other team, and that's exactly what he did yesterday, and Sheffield United fully deserved that. I sat there, and countless times I was saying to Lawrence next to me and the guy next to me who had a broken arm, I was just there saying, they're going to score again. If we don't create more chances and don't score another goal, we are not going to win this game. Sadly, Chelsea didn't get out of second gear, as we made the point in point number 4, and it is absolutely unacceptable to be giving away a 2-goal lead at home to Sheffield United. If we're looking to get back into European football next season again, I said that we might win the Champions League in the other video, got absolutely ridiculed in the comments, but that's absolutely fine. My point that I wanted to make in that video is that when you get into knockout football, anything can happen, and I think Chelsea can at least get out of the group. So if we're not going to finish in the top 4, we're going to be screwed. And yes, we're talking about a transfer ban, but even without a transfer ban next window, if we don't get Champions League football, we're not going to be able to attract the same calibre of player as we would if we were playing in Europe's top tier again. So there's so many alarming things that need to be worked on, and defensively, I don't think I've ever seen a Chelsea team this poor defensively in many, many years. So it's a massive worry, it's a massive reality check that although we've got all this positive buzz around these young players, we saw Billy Gilmour come on yesterday, which I'm not going to blame him for anything. I think he had a couple of nice touches of the ball, got a great reception from the fans, but to throw him in a game where, let's be honest, I don't know if Frank was watching the same game as me, but Sheffield United were by far the better team in the second half yesterday, and to make such a risky substitution like bringing on Billy Gilmour, I think it was unrealistic from Frank. I'm not blaming Billy for 1 second. The guy's 18 years old, he's making his Premier League debut, and I thought he did alright when he came on, to be fair. He just, again, physicality, we're playing against Sheffield United, they've got some big boys in there. Chelsea have got to stop that. There's absolutely no way we can continue this pattern of decent first half, shambolic second half. It's got to end. So point number 6, and the final point, these things that are happening are things that definitely can be coached. Basic things like switching on at the beginning of the second half. There's absolutely no way that Frank didn't throw a few swear words down in the changing room yesterday after that game saying, what on earth are you flipping playing at? Switching on and conceding a goal within the first minute of the second half. In terms of defensive positioning from Zuma, Tomori, Azpilicueta, Emerson, everybody was kind of off the pace in terms of where they should have been as a defensive line. These things can be coached out. It's something that Frank can work on. It's very flipping evident that we can create opportunities going forward, and it is up to Frank and the team within the next couple of weeks to come up with a strategy as to how we can fix these defensive issues from a tactical standpoint. People need to understand, Pulisic needs to understand, Mount needs to continue to do what he's already doing very well. We need to come back and help the fullbacks, and it is something that we really need to work on tactically. However, we're creating lots of opportunities, and I think Jan said it a lot better than I did in this clip here.
I think Chelsea, their issues at the moment are completely coachable. people that are creating chances, a lot of players can finish, a lot of players can win duels like Zuma, Tomori winning 50-50s. There's a tactical naivety, perhaps with the players and Frank Lampard. Don't agree with second half substitutions. Billy Gilmour is a little bit too slight to be seeing out a result. Great on the ball, well received by their fans.
Coming back to what I made in point number 5, it's a reality check. We've got to understand the situation we're in. We've got Frank Lampard as our manager. We're fielding the youngest team that we've ever fielded in the Premier League because that's the players that we've got available to us at our club right now. And I think that as Frank has more time with these players, positives that we do have, such as chance creation, scoring goals, these are things that aren't going to disappear. They're only going to get better as well. If we can work tactically on how we better defend, how Pulisic can come back and get involved with the defending, how Mason Mount can continue to come back and help with the defending, when N'Golo Kante comes back, when all of these injured players come back, Chelsea are going to be in a much stronger position because right now we're not even able to field our strongest side. So with coaching and with practice and with more time and minutes with this system that Frank Lampard wants to play, it's something that's going to be fixed. So this is the best thing about being in Amsterdam. Everyone's watching and getting involved. But yeah, those are the 6 points I wanted to make today. It is not the result we wanted. I think that I could have easily gone through and said 4 or 5 negatives. But considering this is the last 6 things that we learnt video before the international break, and we won't see one of these for like 2 weeks, I kind of wanted to throw a couple of positives in there. Tammy Abraham was evidently a positive. And I think Tomori had a decent game as well. So yeah, that was 6 things that we learnt from Chelsea 2, Sheffield United 2. It's not the end of the world. Louis Beneventi said yesterday as well, and you'll see a bit more of this in tomorrow's Chelsea Fans React video, that we've got to take everything that we see with a pinch of salt, maybe a bit of pepper in there as well, make it a bit spicier. We can't accept results like that every single week. However, what we can accept is that the system is going to take time, and like I said in point number 6, with a bit of coaching and a bit more effort on tactical defending, I think Chelsea won't be as bad off as the majority of football fans are making it out right now, because it's very easy to do so in our current situation. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. As always, the conversation doesn't end here. It carries on in the comments down below. Tomorrow's video will be Chelsea Fans React. I'll go through some of your comments, I'll go through the Twitter polls, and I also filmed a couple of bits with both Jan and Louis Beneventi yesterday that I will definitely raise in tomorrow's video. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This has been Amsterdam, and I will catch you all later. See you later. Bye-bye.